Hey YouTubers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe. So, I'll follow up on my last video, external stimuli. Learning to ground out external stimuli. What does that mean? I'm going to do a meditation practice or a meditation visualization, sort of like a guided meditation here on this channel here eventually. I'm not sure if I'm going to get one done today, probably recorded outside. Basically making sure that we're connecting our heart to the heart of everything else. When you look at a picture of anything, it's coming from here, going out, and then coming back to here, right? So everything that's outside of this one point is conflicted. There's a measured conflict, right? So it's interacting with its environment, but the center point is connected with every other center point in space-time. Way above 5D, right? 5D is where the collective it's arguably where the collective consciousness is going. But the first step in getting to that state is to make sure that we understand that everything external that we see is in some kind of conflict with each other until it's grounded at the heart space. Right? No difference between you and I or anything else for that matter. A tree, a bug, like anything. And so when you're present and in the moment, you're always grounded at the heart space. And when you're concentrating on connecting with somebody, connect with heart space. Visualize your own heart connecting with their heart. And this will bring images of and correct responses of how you should be dealing with that person, right? That goes with everything. About, a tree, you're feeling the tree, feeling the clouds moving by. And so if the heart is where everything comes from, then in your meditative states, you want to be connecting with your heart space with everything else. And everything else will just seem, it's all temporary, right? It's all temporary things in motion. Here, nothing's moving. It's all coming from here and going back to here. So getting to that space means that you're connecting with everything at the deepest level. Interesting phone call. So back to what we were talking about. Connecting at the heart space. So I heard a lot of people say this, that they're moving away from toxic relationships. But when you really finally fall out of duality, you don't really see any toxic relationships anymore. And I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to ignore it. It has more to do with when you've created your own state of being and you're always coming from the heart space. And it doesn't matter you're no longer being affected by external stimuli. Stimuli, I don't know. What do you call it? Then every relationship really becomes the same. You're just connecting with somebody's heart. And somebody will not be able to, I guarantee you won't have to force anybody out of your life. They won't be able to handle you because they won't be able to negatively affect you. Right? Because it's a feeding energy. So you're actually healing that environment, whether you realize it or not. A lot of times we place too much emphasis on the feeling like we need to actively, cut people off or do it. And it becomes a lot easier when you realize it's like the best thing that I can do for this person is just not talk to them, right? And because all you're doing is just feeding a trauma if they feel like they always need their external validation from you. Right? I mean, that's not healthy for anybody. It's much healthier when you can naturally spend time with people and genuinely enjoy their company without the feeling like you need to do or be anything, right? Because all of us are right here, right, at the 0 point. And so when you really get down to the basics, the only thing left to do is just create together. I got nothing left to sell you. The only way that you can create the state of being that I'm explaining here is through daily meditation practices, where in good visualization techniques of, making sure that you see everybody as the core here. Everything that they produce, it doesn't matter who you're talking about. Could it be the richest person in the world? Could be the poorest person in the world. And actually, the poorest people in the world generally have learned to manage their state of being a lot better than somebody who's constantly looking outside of themselves for any kind of external validation, right? And so that process eventually creates an inner state of peace where you're always just you, right? I mean, there's no, you can't not be you, right? I mean, how am I expressing myself? How is it that, always think about that. How easy is it to just be anything, right? And then you'll know when you no longer get affected by anybody else's state, then you've really mastered yourself in some way, and it won't matter what you're doing, what you're not doing, everything will be okay. And this is really important. It's important to get to this state because we're getting ready to keep going through this shift where fear is going to keep trying to get its way in constantly, and you're going to be grounding it out in your environment, right? This guy here, he's trying to get a sale. Fear is motivating him. Really trying to, get in someone else's pockets, because if I don't get that thing, right? If I don't get that thing, then, I don't know. So, at the same time, it's time to receive, right? All of us who have been sitting here wanting to create together, it's time to receive. And I realized from a long time that I've been promoting a project, but it's important not to attach anybody's label to it, right? Even attaching my name is kind of puts me in a position where kind of in an unbalanced state. So it's all not for profit. What you're trying to do is channel energy into the group collective so that it starts creating together naturally. Or partnering with the right number of people just to create what we want to create, right? Imagine if 20% of the world decided that they just wanted to create together in equality and they were healed. They got no trauma. They're not trying to lay blame on anybody, right? They're just loving each other unconditionally because they're really connected here, and it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, right? You're in this never-ending state of peace. And then, how much work would you have to do during the week? Let's be honest. Probably 15 hours or less, right? Really. And the rest of the world would be fighting over property and trying to figure out who gets what, right? They're all concerned about the stuff out here, and it was never the thing that created it in the first place. Everything, we're the creators. Creator or creators, same thing. So, yeah. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day. I'm not going to pull an oracle card. I pulled up an oracle card earlier and it just said be still. So that is my advice today. Be still. Listen to the sounds of the world around you and just be there to ground it all out and transmute it into something beautiful. Love you. Have a beautiful day.